Good morning, guys. We're going to talk about reading today. We've talked a little bit about other parts of OET yesterday. In reading, we're going to talk what is there, how to attempt, and the timing. That's very, very important. So reading is a receptive skill, right? And it is very difficult to predict what comes in the examination. The most important part or the most important thing during the preparation would be to understand how much time do you spend per question, and you just keep moving and you keep practicing. After you do certain number of sets, you already get used to it. The reading, okay? So let's talk about it in detail. So we have part A, then we have part B. Let's make the size a bit bigger. Right. Yeah, we have part A and then we have part B plus part C collectively. So A will be given to you initially. That's going to be 15 minutes and it will have 20 questions, right? 20, there you go, 20, 20 questions. So they give you the question booklet and the answer booklet, and they take it away in 15 minutes, and you are supposed to answer 20 of the questions. There will be three types of questions. Type 1 is going to be match, right? Type 2, blanks, and type 3 will be Q&As, right? Question and answers, what I mean. Q&As, right? Then after you attempt 20 questions, like I said, it will be taken away, and then B and C will collectively be given to you. And after that will be for 45 minutes, right? And there will be how many questions? Let's do it like this. 6 plus 8 plus 8, right? 6 plus 8 plus 8. So 6, we can make it like this. To further clarify, 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. There you go. 6 questions. There's a reason why I've written it in that way, because all the questions are different, unlike part A where questions will be related to the given text. After that, 8 plus 8, that means there will be two extracts. Sometimes it's called text, sometimes it's called extract 1, or maybe text A, or extract B, or text B, right? But 8 plus 8 means per extract there will be, or per text there will be 8 questions, and the next extract or next text is going to have 8 questions. We're going to further talk about it, but let's see how it works. So just understand that there are 42 questions in total. You see 20 plus 6 plus 8 and 8, that becomes 42. And if you get 30 right, you get a B band, right? So 30 out of 42, you pass, right? That's equal to a B band. B band is 350 marks. All right. Then let us talk in detail about how A functions. Okay, since I've already told you, since I've already mentioned that it's a match, blanks, a Q&As. Let's also talk about how you approach. I mean, the timing. It's very, very important. And you don't have a lot of time. So 20 questions you have, um, and you have 15 minutes for that, isn't it? And for one question, we do the unitary method, and this is going to be divided by 20, isn't it? So what is going to be the, let's check. Wait, let me open my calculator. I'm terrible with mathematics. 15 divided by 20. 15 divided by 20. That's going to be equal to 0.75 minutes. That's not a lot of time, isn't it, per question? And let me remind you of fact that there will be certain time that you will dedicate to read the text, read the content. Then only you're going to attempt the reading, isn't it? You're not going to go directly to the questions, I mean the match blanks and question and answers. You have to dedicate certain time for the text as well. I mean the ingredient of the pair. paragraphs that are given to you, right? That will further shorten down the time that you have to attempt the questions, right? So let's imagine, not let's imagine, actually, you spend around 3 to 4 minutes to read the text and to know what is there and what is not there, right? So let's say you gave 4 minutes, then 4 minutes is gone. So 4 minutes are gone from the total time. So that's going to be equal to how much? 15 minus 4 is going to be 11. So 11 minutes you have to attempt 20 questions, actually. That's the truth. So if you do the unitary method for that, 11 divided by 20, that's going to be equal to even less, 0.55 minutes, right? Half of a minute approximately. You run, right? Not half of a minute, but yes, 0.55 minutes. That's not a lot of time. It's less than a minute, right? So just remember that you have that much time per question, and if you should not get fixated in attempting one question, otherwise it's going to further affect your other questions and other options, right? That's the timing. Now, what is there in part A? Let me tell you further. Since I've already mentioned that there are three kinds of questions, but what comes in part A? So let me give you this analogy. I use this all the time to explain my students. Let's imagine I told you guys to write an essay, a four-page essay about Apple. I mean, not the company Apple, but fruit Apple. So I also told that it should be one paragraph, one content, right? One paragraph, sorry, not one paragraph, one content, but one page, one content. Okay, so you write the essay. So the first page you talk about the Apple's introduction and how important of the fruit it is. You know how popular it is. It can be ready. It can be bought everywhere in the world, right? Even in Bible and everywhere else, you have mention of Apple. So you give an introduction about Apple, right? In the first page. In the second page, you talk about different types of apple. There are more than 80 types of apple. It grows in blah, blah, blah kinds of climate, right? In the third page, you talk about the recipes. I mean, what can you make out of apple? Apple juice. We have apple cider vinegar. Alcohol can make out of apple. Recipes, pies, biscuits, chocolates, whatever. You talk about in the third page. And the fourth page, you talk about economy. You talk about the apple farming, right? So four different pages. You talk about different things, but about apple. So what is A? There will be four boxes, four texts, or four extracts that will be given to you, right? In part A, let's say they talk about tetanus. So part A, or the text A, will talk about tetanus. Text B will also talk about tetanus. Text C will also talk about tetanus, and text D will also talk about tetanus, but different aspects of tetanus. Like I said about the apple, the first one was introduction, the second one was what was it? Type. Third one was what was it? Recipes that can be made with apple, and the fourth one was um, what was it? The cultivation of apple, right? I'll show that to you, but just get the clarification. Now let's talk about part B. There's one more thing that I'm going to tell you, that the secret of passing the reading is to not read. The more you read, the more you are fixated at the texts, the likelihood of you failing is higher. So you should not dedicate more than 3 to 4 minutes to get acquainted to what has been given in the texts, right? I told you four texts: text A or text one, text B, text two, text C, text three, text D, text four. Like 4 pages will be given. They all will be interrelated. Like if they talk about tetanus, they're all going to talk about different aspects of tetanus. If we talk about typhoid, they're going to talk about different aspects of typhoid distributed in four different pages. All right, so 20 questions related to them. Match blanks and question and answer. That's A that you see. Now, there's a reason why I've written that. And after that, okay, sorry, after that A, the part A will be collected. The question paper and the answering booklet will be taken away from you. Then comes part B and C. Part B and C, 45 minutes. So do whatever you want, however you want. You have a lot of time to attempt part B and C. So 6 questions in part B, 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 I've written. Why have I written that? Because in A, all the 20 questions are connected to a same topic, apple, or typhoid, or whatever I said, maybe banana. Okay. But in part B, all questions will have different boxes. I mean, different text boxes. And you're just going to read that particular text and you're going to attempt your question. By the way, part B and part C will be multiple choice questions. You just have to do the shading like we used to do for the council examination, you know. There must be many examinations that you must have gone through where it's options, right? So you just shade your answers. And the same thing applies to C as well. However, the difference between part B and part C is that in B, you have 3 choices, A, B, and C. In part C, you have 4 choices, 4 options. But part A is handwritten. I mean, of course, shading is also handwritten, but you need to write the exact word in part A, which means part A will be judged or evaluated by 2 independent assessors manually. I mean, humans involved. Part B and C will be computer based. They're just going to scan for part B and C. And one more thing I have to tell you, the 12 professions who are permitted to give OET examination, they all have same reading and listening. So do not be alarmed when you see the reading section from physiotherapy or from dentistry or from nursing. It will all be jumbled up into one text. There are many different things you will see. I'll show that to you in a bit, right? So we've talked about part B. Part B has 6 different texts and 6 different questions, and they'll have choices, I mean options, and you're just going to shade your answers and you're going to move forward, and that's it. And part C will be long, long, long extract, and there'll be 8 questions related to one extract, and then once you finish attempting 8 of them, you'll proceed with another 8, right? And its respective extract or text, right? So part C, 8 plus 8. 8 questions related to one text or extract, another 8 related to another text and extract. Remember this. Now, um, let me tell you something that part C is the most complicated, in my opinion. Why? Because A will be direct. B will also be kind of direct because the size of the text that you have to read is not too much. But in part C, you have to read a lot, right? And remember what I told you, the secret of passing the reading is to not read. It's ironic, isn't it? But still, you need to know that part C is really difficult because the options that will be given will be in a different language, and the way you comprehend what is given in the paragraph is going to be in a different language. So it is sometimes very difficult. I find it very difficult as well sometimes to attempt some of the questions. It is also a matter of luck what kind of questions come in the exam, right? So that was part A, part B, and part C. In a little bit, I have introduced a little bit. Now, let us talk about the timing for part B and C, since I've already mentioned part B and C, 45 minutes, and that is going to be equal to 22 questions. You see, 6 plus 8 plus 8 equal to 22 questions. So let's talk the maths. For 22 questions, you have 45 minutes, right? One question, how much do you have? 45 divided by 22. Let's say approximately that's equal to how much? 2 minutes, isn't it? Like, let's say 44. 1 minute is lost somewhere, but doesn't matter. Just you get the idea, right? 2 minutes per question. So that means how much will part B have? So how much will part B have? Part B has how many questions? B has six six questions times 2 minutes. That's going to be equal to 12 minutes, right? And similarly for part C, we've already talked. How many questions are there? 16. So 16 times 2, that's going to be equal to 32. So 32 plus 12, approximately 44. Not approximately, exactly 44 minutes, right? So you get the point, right? Now, there are two kinds of people that I've come across when I teach reading. People who do A and then go B and C. That's a classic approach. Some people, especially me, I do A and then I do C and then B. I mean, you have 45 minutes in your hands, so attempting B first or C first, it's totally your choice, your option, right? So let's see how it works out. Let me tell you something that there's a certain level of predictability in part B compared to part C. Because in part B, sometimes you can know what kind of disease it is. Let's say somebody tells you that, okay, paracetamol is used for diarrhea. You're not going to buy that. You're not going to believe that. Because the options given in part B sometimes have that kind of meaning. And with your medical knowledge, with your acumen, you get it. Oh, of course, this is a wrong option. How can somebody give paracetamol for diarrhea? So you can exclude options sometimes based on your understanding of medicine because you all are doctors, isn't it? Right? Uh, Therefore, what I suggest is that part B, we've already talked out that either there are 12, it's 12 minutes, right? If you divide the time per question in part B and C section, it is better that you give 6 to 8 minutes. It's better that you do it within 6 to 8 minutes. And whatever the time remaining, if you do it in 6 to 8 minutes, then you have how much? 4 to 6 minutes extra. Then you can give that 4 to 6 minutes extra to part C, because I told you already that part C is a bit complicated. Give extra how much? 4 to 6 minutes. And that becomes how much? 36 to 38 minutes. The more time that you give to C, obviously the likelihood of passing is higher, or attempting and getting them right is higher, right? So this is the basic thing you need to know first of all about reading, and then now we're going to proceed towards the text, what it looks like, right? Let me see. I'm going to erase this, and we're going to move forward. Okay, let's see this. The use of feeding tubes in pediatrics, right? Like I said, there will be four text, like 4 pages of Apple that I told you about. So text A also talks about feeding tubes. Text B also talks about feeding tubes. Text C also talks about feeding tubes. Text D also talks about feeding tubes, but different aspects of feeding tubes. I'm just giving you a general introduction at the moment. And this is also going to be your homework. You guys are going to do this as homework. Then we have, like I said, 20 questions. These that you see in front of your screen at the moment, these are match questions. You can see. For each question 1 to 7, decide which text, A, B, C, or D, the information comes from. You may use any letter more than once. You just write A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D as your answer. These are match questions. After that, we have Q&As, like I've mentioned earlier. And then we have the blank question. Fill in the blanks, right? And then that's the end of part A. You see that? End of part A, this question paper will be collected. Then we move forward. That's part B. You must be noticing that you have these small boxes that you have to read, and then you have to shade your answers. That is above the text. So first one, what do you see there? Effective cold chain manual extract. Here, nurse home visit guidelines. This is from nursing. And you have 3 questions. They are different, right? Look at the third one. Guidelines for dealing with hospital waste. Again, different. Then you have extract from guidelines, patients, confidentiality, ethics, isn't it? It's completely different here. And then after that, you have email from Dental Board of Australia. That's dentistry, and you have your own options with that. And then sixth one, we have women and dementia, related neurology. Then you have three options, right? After that, part B is over. Then we proceed towards part C. Like I told you, there will be two texts. This particular reading calls it text asbestosis. Look at the size of the paragraph there. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's pretty long, isn't it? And then you'll have 8 questions related, right? I'm going to come about this in detail in a bit, but just understand what is there and what is not there, first of all. The pilot view, the bird's view. After that, we have another one, medication non-compliance. Remember, the first one was about asbestosis, and this is about medication non-compliance. And you see the long paragraph here, and you have 8 questions related to medication non-compliance and end of reading text. So let's go a bit in detail. Let's go and see part A, and we'll come down to part C. This is also going to be a homework, so I'm not going to attempt each and every questions for you, but you're going to do it as a practice, and you're going to tell me how much did you score in the practice. Now, since I've given that ironical statement about the secret of passing the reading is to not read, and it's true. And remember, during the mathematics that we're doing about the timing, I've told you that you only dedicate 3 to 4 minutes to read the text, right? In part A, because you have to do it in 15 minutes. You have 20 questions in 15 minutes, and you have around 0.55 minutes to attempt, right? That's kind of short. Now, first of all, you need to know what the topic is, heading. That's feeding tubes in pediatrics. Then we have text A. In text A, you're not going to read the whole thing. If you read the entire thing, I think 3 to 4 minutes will be already gone in text A, and you will not have any time to attempt part B and C. I mean, part B, C, and D of the part A of reading. Now, what do you do here is as you generalize. Let's see, how do you generalize? Nasogastric is the most common route of enteral feeding. It's particularly useful in short term, and so it kind of gives you the definition of the tube. And then we have issues associated with pediatric nasogastric tube feeding include. So issues. So let's call this paragraph definition plus issues paragraph. So within less than a minute, we have already decided, okay, let's move forward, done. That's it. We don't do any reading. So definition, issue, paragraph. The quicker you generalize, let me repeat, the quicker you generalize what is the ingredient and what is the content of a certain text box, you will attempt the questions easier when you come towards the end. Then we have part B, text B. What does it talk about? You should have ability of reading 1 or 2 lines and kind of guess what is there in the paragraphs here. Inserting the nasogastric tube, that means it's related to procedure. All tubes must be radiopaque. We don't care about that. But here you see the types, wide bore and a fine bore, and you must be noticing their numbers and lengths, right? You see the numbers? So numbers, they're differentiating text A and text B, isn't it? So underline the numbers always, and then you read it out here. See, wash and dry hands thoroughly. Place all the equipment needed in a clean tray. So this is the procedure of insertion of the tube. So that means let's call this paragraph types of tube and procedure paragraph and with lots of numbers. Done. We move forward. And look at this text C. You see the words, keywords here, aspirate. Everywhere you see aspirate, and we have numbers here as well, but in the form of pH. So that's how it makes it different. pH. And there are numbers here as well. But we have aspirate everywhere. You notice that? Aspirate. Right? Done. This is aspirate paragraph. We move. We don't read anything. After that, we have administering feeds fluids via feeding tube. Let's read this. What is this? It's difficult. Everything is given here in points. Administering feeds fluids via feeding tube. Feeds are ordered through a referrer to a dietitian. When feeding directly into the small bowel, it kind of looks more like a management. You see the dietitian involved. So let's call this paragraph management paragraph. And if you do not know what to call this, you can call it paragraph X. But we can still find out what is there and what is not there. So there's precaution as well. Under no circumstances should the feed be decanted, right? Decanted. Uh, so let's call this management and precaution paragraph. So how was it? Part A, text A was definition issue. Then we had type and procedure. Third was aspirate. Fourth one, we don't know how to categorize, but we call it management paragraph, or we call it precaution paragraph, and then done. We don't do anything anymore. So let me attempt 2 questions for you here so that you guys do it easily at home, as this is going to be your homework. The risks of feeding a child via a nasogastric tube. Where do you think the answer is? Issues paragraph, right? Just write A. Risk multiple issues, right? Then we have calculating the length of the tube that will be required for a patient. Length, numbers, type, B. You just write, this is match question. These are match questions, done. And actually, it's only 15 minutes given, but it's logical because you just have to write A, B, C, D. Not a lot of writing involved, so not a problem there. Now, I'm going to attempt 1 or 2 here as well. What type of tube should you use for patients who need nasogastric feeding for an extended period? What is the key word here? Type. Which means, where is the answer? In text B, obviously. So you go back quickly to text B and check your answers and copy paste. And remember one thing, in reading, it has to be exact. You have to write the exact word. Singularity and plurality doesn't matter that much. But still, you need to copy paste whatever is given there. Now, look at this. Which equipment should you use initially to aspirate a feeding tube? What is that? Keyword, aspirate. So where do you think the answer is? C. That's it. I'm going to move forward. If a feeding tube isn't straight when you unwrap it, you should blah, blah, blah it. Where do you think the answer is? Procedure paragraph, right? B. This is how you should generalize. The art or the ease with which you find answers depends on how well you have generalized things above. If you have not generalized it well, you're going to suffer. If you need to give the patient a standard liquid feed, the tube to use is blah, blah, blah in size. Oh my goodness, there are only 2 paragraphs that have numbers. One has pH, the other one, this is also type. This is also going to come in part B, isn't it? Size, that means number, right? Done. Part A finished. Right, after that we have part B. Let me tell you something, guys. You must know what is signposting. It is used in each and every language, and any writings, including essays, even during the high school, or I don't know, any very important, any examination that involves language, you should know the skills of signposting. What is the meaning of signposting? Signposting, let me give you an example. Listen to my words. Let's say, talking about your, let's say, headache. Let's see, I'm talking to a patient. Talking about your headache, what will the patient think? The patient is going to think that, oh, the doctor is going to talk about my headache. So we're kind of drawing attention. We're kind of drawing attention from the listener or the reader. Even in writing, when you do regarding the patient's history, that means what is the paragraph going to contain? The patient's history or medical history or social history, right? That is called signposting. And that's very important, the ability to predict what is the content of a certain paragraph by just reading one line. Here, of course, this is not signposting, but you should have that skill. If vaccines have been stored incorrectly, let's look at the option. This should be reported. Staff should dispose of them securely. They should be sent back to the supplier. Let's not read and try to attempt. I told you that Part B has certain level of predictability depending on your knowledge because you guys are all doctors, right? If vaccines have been stored incorrectly, what should you do? Look at the option number A. This should be reported. Obviously, you're going to tell, okay, this vaccine has some problems with storage. Staff should dispose of them securely. Maybe, who knows? But C, they should be sent back to the supplier. Yes, it should be sent back to the supplier, but it is not the medical professional's job, that is the administration's job. So we have options A and B. Out of A and B, I'm pretty sure that we can guess what is the answer as well. In an event when we don't have any time left, we can easily, I'm going to put A as the answer. Because as a medical professional, we just report. How they deal with, that's none of our business, right? Now, what OET does is they purposefully give you 3 paragraphs to fool you. If you fall into the trap, then you're not going to make it to the exam. See how we do this is read one line and know what is the content. You don't have to necessarily read everything. Remember what I told you initially? The secret of passing the reading is to not read. So let's see. The cold chain is a system of transporting and storing. See, this is talking about introduction. But our options, and the question is more towards what? Issues, isn't it? So a purpose built vaccine refrigerators are preferred means, again, it is talking about kind of definition about the types of refrigerators. But we're not concerned about that. Here is the answer. Look at that. Despite best practices, cold chain breaches sometimes occur. Do not discard or use any vaccines exposed to temperature distances without obtaining further advice. Then you choose your answer. So don't waste your time. Don't beat around the bush reading these 2 paragraphs because that's going to waste your time. You have to go to your exact paragraph and attempt your question, right? This is how it happened. After that, you go forward. Again, look at the second one. It's nurse home visit guidelines. I've already mentioned that there can be questions from different professions as well. This is nursing clearly. Now, this one also has a certain level of predictability. According to the extract, prior to making a home visit, nurses must record the time they leave the practice, refill the bag with necessary items, communicate their intentions to others. Actually, they all sound correct. So let's do the signposting thing that I told you about. When the nurse is ready to depart, she must. Okay, already the answer is there. Done, finished. If it's given in your first line or in the first paragraph, you're lucky. Again, you see there are so many paragraphs here. You don't necessarily have to read all of it. You just read one line and kind of know, okay, maybe it's there, maybe it's not there. 95% of the time you get it right, and you need to develop that skill to attempt. Look at this again, patient confidentiality. We have 2 paragraphs. You don't have to read everything. You just read 1 or 2 lines and kind of guess according to what the options are given. First of all, you read the questions and options, and then you move forward. Then we have email from Dental Board of Australia. Look at that, 3 paragraphs again, and you're going to read your options and attempt, right? This is how. Now look at this one. The results of study described in memo may explain. This also has predictability. Superior communication skills may protect women from dementia. Don't you think that's the biggest bullshit that you ever heard in your life? As a medical doctor, it's wrong. Female dementia sufferers have better verbal skills. Who told that? We've never learned that. Kind of its answer is pointing towards C. Even if you don't read, you know that the answer is C. But still, you have to read it to be sure. Or maybe you do not read it. If you have 1 or 2 minutes left, you can simply shade your answers to C. I think it is going to be correct, right? Again, there are 3 paragraphs given. Look at the first paragraph. It's comparing with men, and it's comparing. It's talking about demographics and many other things. Obviously, the answer is not there. Women with either no mild or moderate problems perform better. Blah blah blah. It's not there. Then here, the answer must be in the third paragraph, right? This is how you move forward, and this skill you need to develop. After that, we have part C, asbestosis. Well, let me tell you good news about asbestosis. Not asbestosis. Part C. All the questions that you see will come in chronology. The first thing that you need to do after getting the paper in your hands for part C is, sorry, B and C will be given together, of course. So count the number of paragraphs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And how many questions are there? 8 questions, 8 multiple choice questions per extract. And each paragraph will definitely have one question, remember. Each paragraph will definitely have one question. 6 paragraphs here, that means 6 questions for sure. That means 2 paragraphs will have a repeated question, and maybe 1 paragraph will have repeated question. I mean, there will be more question from that. And that means 2 questions per paragraph. And you must also be noticing that there are some bold words. This is a sure shot question. And you must have seen something here as well. Bold. The ubiquitous is given in the first paragraph, and since I've mentioned you that one question is for sure from one paragraph, let's go and check our options at the bottom. The writer suggests, oh, okay, here ubiquitous is the second question. That means from the first paragraph there are 2 questions. So it already became 7. That means another paragraph will also have one more repeated question from paragraph from a certain paragraph, and that's how it becomes how many? 8, isn't it? And if there are 8 paragraph, then you're lucky. One question per paragraph. And you must be noticing here this bold this at the bottom. And since this is the last paragraph, you will see that it is going to be your last question. You see? In the final paragraph, the word this refers to, right? And they also specify in the 4th paragraph here. So first of all, what you do in the 3rd paragraph, what you do is you read your question, then you read your options, and then some of the options can be wrong. Like I told you, paracetamol is used for diarrhea. You are not going to believe that because you are medical professional by yourself, right? So first of all, exclude what you think is wrong, and then go to the particular paragraph quickly, and then attempt your questions, right? That is all about part C. All will come chronologically. I mean, one question per paragraph. If the first one is first paragraph, the second one is going to be second paragraph, right? Now next text that we have here is medication non-compliance. Medication non-compliance. So how many paragraphs? Look at it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, we have 8 paragraphs. That means one question for sure per paragraph. You see there on that score that is bold. That's a sure shot question. And since it is the second last paragraph, you'll see here that it will be second last question too. You see? This is the last end of reading test, it says. 21st question there on that score. That's going to be second last question. I hope you understand what I've told you so far. This is the way you attempt, right? This is how it works. So 8 paragraphs, 8 questions, all will come in chronology. It will go according to time, right? So you guys get it? This is the reading introduction. Any questions? Any questions there?
Can we highlight or write on these reading sheets, like on the text?
Yes, you can even paint if you want. I know you can't take the
Okay.
paintbrush, of course, but you can underline, you can even draw, do whatever. If you have a lot of time left, you can make a scenery of beautiful mountains. That's a joke, but don't do that. I mean, yes, you are free to do whatever you want with your page, right? I mean, with the pages that are given to you, right? So this is the brief introduction and the time management. I'm pretty sure you guys will do well. The homework is going to be to attempt this, and you have to report and tell me how much do you score out of this. We are going to organize sessions as well, right? So I hope you get this. Let's talk about something else. Wait.